These are 3 of South Park's best episodes. The 3rd episode is The Return of the Fellowship of the Ring to the Two Towers with a rating of 9.4. The episode starts at Stan's house, with the kids role-playing Lord of the Rings. Stan the Ranger asks Cartman the Great Wizard for a quest, and he gives them an awful quest of getting a pecan pie, but Randy comes by and gives them the ultimate quest of giving Butters a Lord of the Rings VHS. So they accept the quest and embark on the dangerous journey to the Butters house. While they journey on, Randy starts getting frisky with Sharon because it turns out he also rented a dirty movie. We go back to our warriors, and they spot a dragon in the distance, and Cartman the Great Wizard uses a spell to shield them from the dragon's fire. Now the dragon is obviously not a dragon and is a literal car, but it's very fun how they use their imagination, and it really reminds me of role-playing as a kid, and I love that. We then go back to Randy and Sharon, who are getting freaky and ready to watch their dirty movie. After getting ready, they pop in their tape and start kissing, but from the audio, turns out this is not actually a dirty movie and is actually Lord of the Rings, which means Randy actually gave the warriors the dirty movie and not Lord of the Rings. By the way, it's not just a dirty movie, but the freakiest, wildest, dirtiest movie ever created. And the warriors have already arrived at Butters, so Randy and Sharon are too late. So the heroes hand off the prized possession of Lord of the Rings to Butters' parents, and sadly do not receive an award. Then Butters' parents hand Butters a dirty film and head upstairs, having absolutely no idea what this kid is about to witness. So Butters puts in the tape, and honestly, I thought pure old Butters was gonna be grossed out, but weirdly, he thinks it's neato. His words, not mine. And he's actually really enjoying it. We also don't get to see the dirty film, but we get to hear some interesting sounds. Then we see Randy and Sharon freaking out in the car about the awkward conversation they're about to have with Butters' parents, but they come across the noble warriors. And Randy, being kind of a wuss but also smart, embarks the warriors on a new quest. He explains how they need to retrieve the tape, and shall not watch the tape as it holds an evil power, and must return it back to him, and they will be greatly rewarded. Honestly played so perfectly into the roleplay because they ask no questions and blindly follow the quest. So they journey onward, and we go back to Butters with his mouth wide open. Oh golly. And then he looks down and wonders what is happening down there. And I'm not gonna lie, this part genuinely made me laugh out loud when I watched it. But he can't continue to enjoy the Lord of the Rings because Kyle the Paladin retrieves the tape, which makes Butters start crashing out, begging them to keep the movie so he can finish it. He then, in desperate need to watch the film again, asks them if he can go with them, but they tell him he has to roleplay as Lord of the Rings. And since Butters now thinks Lord of the Rings is a dirty movie, he starts literally humping Kyle, which is obviously weird, and they do not let him come with them. And then he somehow literally quotes Lord of the Rings and gets all sad saying, "My awesome cool movie, my precious." He literally becomes Gollum, but instead of wanting a ring, he wants a dirty movie. Anyway, the warriors head back home and actually think the movie has an evil power because of how it made Butters act. Then on their journey home, they run into some dangerous monsters, the 6th graders, who realize the Lord of the Rings copy that they have is actually a dirty movie. And of course, them being 6th graders want this tape really bad so they can watch it. But Cartman, with the soul of Kenny in his body, whacks the 6th grade leader and gets the tape back to fulfill the quest. And while they are running for their lives, Randy and Sharon tell Butters' parents that the tape they gave them was actually a dirty film. And of course, they freak out. And we see Butters acting insane, talking about his precious and how the warriors stole it, making them think the boys stole the tape and are now watching it. But they're actually still running for their lives. And they actually get away and decide they need to bring the evil tape to the High Elf to figure out why the Lord of the Rings tape is evil. So they head off while all the parents group together and find out that their sons are potentially just chilling watching this dirty tape. And they all start tweaking, except for Cartman's mom, who was like, well, maybe they need to know. But Kyle's mom makes a good point, how they need someone to put into context. And then they all get a great example of how a kid acts without context, seeing Butters bang on the window talking about his precious. So they form an alliance and decide to journey out to retrieve the evil tape. We then go back to our warriors, who have arrived at the High Elf's castle. And when they open the door, a random kid named Clyde opens it, but then he closes the door and the High Elf answers. They tell him about the evil tape, and the High Elf says he will call a council meeting. And we then see the 6th graders also forming an alliance and creating a plan to get a dirty tape, which is wild. These 6th graders are so down bad that they are about to rob some kids for this tape. But I get it, I guess. At that age, you're different. You're just filled with hormones. And back then, they did not have internet. Still though, you would not catch me doing all this. Anyways, we head over to the council meeting, and someone has to watch the tape to see what the evil is about. But it has to be someone strong enough to withstand such evil. So Talangar, being the noble warrior, decides to watch the tape. And he literally comes back out in regular clothing and says he's done. And since we actually know what's on this tape, it makes this scene so hilarious. Bro really seen some things. Now though, the group knows that this tape is really evil. So the High Elf sets up a team to return this evil tape tape to the video store. The team consists of the ranger, the wizard, the dwarf, the warrior, the cleric, and the paladin. And so the noble warriors head to the video store, which by the way is insanely far away. While they journey onward, the Parent Alliance heads over to Tolkien's house, and they tell his parents how he saw a dirty film. And seeing Tolkien's blank face is so hilarious. He is so scarred. The parents then try to explain what he saw and how it's just love, but he explains some wild scenarios asking if that's love, one of them being 5 midgets spanking a man covered with Thousand Island dressing. Honestly, the fact Tolkien can name 2 wild scenarios is crazy. I don't know if he was just frozen, but why did he watch more than 1 second? Anyways, he tells the parents where the warriors went with the tape, so they journey off to go get it from them. The kids now have finally reached the town of Bailey, the town with the video store, and we see that crazy Butters has been following them the entire time. Honestly, really surprising that Tolkien was scarred, but pure innocent old Butters is in love with this tape. Maybe Butters is not what I thought he was. Anyways, the warriors run to their first obstacle, the 6th graders. Then the noble cleric Jimmy stays back to fend them off. And I'm not even trying to be mean, but that may have been the worst choice possible, but I respect him for this. Honestly, any of the kids stood no chance, but yeah, Jimmy definitely stood no chance, and the 6th graders trampled over homeboy. Even though he fended them off, they are on bikes, and the group needs to somehow outrun them. So Cartman the wizard tells them they should cross the river, cause 6th graders hate water, and Craig and the dwarf think that he's goofy, and just dip to play Harry Potter, which is so lame. But our original trio crosses the river, and believe it or not, Cartman was actually right. The 6th graders do actually hate water. Even though they outran the 6th graders, they did not outrun Butters, and he comes up to them fiending, and also exposes that he knows where the video store is. He does ask to see the video and he will tell them, but it's kind of 3 against 1, so they threaten him and he takes them to the video store. We go back to the Parent Alliance, who see Jimmy looking rough, and they ask where the kids went. And I can't lie, this dude stuttering is so funny to me. I love this character because of this. He literally keeps trying to tell me that they went to the video store, but instead is like, they went to the video. It's hilarious. I love it. Anyways, after a really funny back and forth, he finally spits it out, and they head onward to the video store. The heroes also reach the video store, but it's locked, and the 6th graders are coming in hot, about to wreak havoc over a literal dirty film. Luckily though, the video store has a drop box, and it seems this insane adventure is almost over, until crazy boy Butters launches himself grabbing his precious and starts running off with it. It seems the trio is about to fail their quest, but our heroic paladin literally grabs Butters and throws him and the tape down the drop box, which is insane, but I get it. Butters deserved it, so they finished their quest and showed true bravery. And then the parents finally catch up with them, and this has got to be one of the funniest parts of the episode. So the parents think that the trio has seen the film, so they start explaining the film to them, even though they literally did not see it, and their faces are priceless. It's a really funny scene. Then the episode ends with Butters hugging onto his film in the drop-off box. So this episode was phenomenal. It was funny, it was creative, the conflicts were so great and funny when you realize it's all about a dirty film. It's just so impressive how they create such an insane story about a dirty film. I also love the role playing. It really immerses you and makes you feel like a kid, and I love that. It's just such a beautiful episode and really shows off that South Park charm and highlights the amazing brains of these writers. I found myself glued to the screen and rooting for the trio to get rid of the tape. I also think it's funny knowing what's on the tape the entire time, while the trio thinks it's evil, and then just seeing Butters act wild and literally assault Kyle. It's just a fun episode. I really enjoyed it. This episode deserves this spot for sure. The second episode is Make Love Not Warcraft with a rating of 9.5. This episode starts in World of Warcraft. Yes, World of Warcraft, the game. We see a dwarf character and it's Cartman, and he walks up to the gang, who are also Warcraft characters. So far, I think the concept of this episode is so cool and original. I've never seen a show correlate a game into it like this. Anyways, this is Stan's character, this is Kyle's character, and this is Kenny's character. Pretty basic, lame human characters. They start the adventure to complete the quest in Stonehaven, and we hear Stan's dad yelling through the game. He pulls the classic dad and tells Stan to go outside and play with his friends, but he tells him he is literally playing with his friends and makes him feel stupid. Then we meet the conflict of the episode. This human character who starts taunting them. We learn that he somehow kept killing them last night. So in Warcraft's rules, a character cannot kill you unless you accept a duel, but this dude literally just kills them all, somehow completely bypassing all the rules, which makes no sense. Also, he kills Kenny first, of course. This drives them all insane though, and we get to see who this awesome, powerful gladiator is, and it's the most typical looking gamer Discord mod looking dude. He's living life though, right? Anyways, we cut to Blizzard HQ, and the kids call up complaining about how the player keeps keeps killing them. And she is so confused because, like I said, according to the rules, this shouldn't be possible. And so they send this case upstairs to the main dogs of Blizzard, and they're trying to figure out what is going on. And it turns out the Blizzard dogs cannot kill or ban this player. He is untouchable even to them, and he somehow reached a level that shouldn't even be possible and has a serious case of having no life. Also turns out, from Randy and Stan's conversation earlier, it gave him FOMO, and now he's playing Warcraft 2 at his literal job, and he's also just a boring human. And then he literally explains the actual hardcore addiction of World of Warcraft perfectly. In the real world, you're a boring person who works 9 to 5, but in Warcraft, you can be anything. You can be a warrior, you can fight dragons, you can do anything. And honestly, this just scratches the surface of the addiction. The episode later really shows how bad addiction can get. Also, the powerful player slays Randy, and that makes him pretty mad. We then cut to Cartman, who is holding a meeting, discussing how they're going to beat the all-powerful, and he's practically got the entire school all prepared to face this challenge. And Cartman has a plan that if they all face him together, they can definitely take this no life. So we are back in the game, and we see all the kids as our in-game characters, and Dwarf Cartman is leading them, sharing the battle plan. So they set off for battle, thinking they can take this guy, and quickly realize even with all of them, they are literally no match. This dude is barely even trying on the gang and just whooping all of them. This guy has now literally one-shot killed everyone and takes out Cartman last. This guy is literally impossible to kill. We go back to Blizzard, who are starting to freak out because if this guy keeps terrorizing everyone, people will stop playing this game. The thing is though, they have no idea of Cartman's passion to slay this monster. Even though Kyle, Stan, and Kenny all just quit and gave up, Cartman provides a motivational speech and explains his plan, which is actually insane. So they can't level up because of the warrior, but there's one mob they still can kill without being seen by him, this mob being boars. And they only deliver 2 experience, which is not a lot at all, but it's the only way to level up. So Cartman proposes his plan. To get to a level where they can take this guy on, they need to kill 65 million boars. 65 million boars. That's obviously going to take forever. And Cartman explains it will. It's going to take 7 weeks, and they can only sleep 3 hours a day. That's actually crazy. Could you imagine killing boars for 7 weeks straight? But somehow he convinces his friends and they get to work, absolutely slaying these boars. And at first, it's this really cool montage and it's pretty sick, but it starts getting pretty bad when we see the kids playing non-stop, even during recess. And they start getting extremely unhealthy and all pimply and fat. Cartman literally gets fatter. Who would have thought? But they are Warcraft's only hope. And even the Blizzard dogs realize this. So they decide they need to even the odds for them. And they bring up something extremely top secret. The Sword of 1,000 Truths, which is a sword that was formed at the beginning of Warcraft by a programmer. And it was extremely overpowered. So they removed it from the game, but still have it on a flash drive. So they all go and grab the flash drive. And now need to track down the kids and give them the sword. Then we cut to the kids in the basement, all playing on computers, with the messiest setups I've ever seen. And it's finally time to face the Discord mod. They have finally reached the high level they have dreamed of to defeat him. And they start the battle. And we cut to 17 hours into the battle. Yes, 17 hours. They have been sitting here fighting this guy for 17 whole hours. Just absolutely insane. And we see the all-powerful actually lock in. He's actually trying now. But while this is happening, the Blizzard dogs come to Randy's house and tell him they need to give his son the sword. And we get left on a cliffhanger. We see that Kyle gets carpal tunnel mid-fight, which is not good at all. This could jeopardize everything they have worked for. We also see Cartman stand up, and my god. Anyways, Cartman forces him to keep playing and rubs some lotion on his hand. We then go back to Randy, who finds out his son is missing after 17 hours, and they come up with a new plan. Randy could log in with his account and give Stan the sword online, and they literally hijack a car for this, for World of Warcraft. We cut back to the kids, and the most disgusting thing ever happens. So Cartman has to use the bathroom, and he obviously can't risk leaving his computer, so he gets his mom to come downstairs, and he just goes in a bowl, which is extremely disgusting. And honestly, respect to Cartman's mom, because I would never ever do that. We cut back to Randy, who literally assaults a kid again into Warcraft, and he comes to Stan with the beautiful sword, but has no idea how to drop weapons, which the all-powerful sees and comes and one-shots Randy. But Stan did get the sword in time, and because of the grief for killing Stan's dad, he starts going crazy. And they finally, after this long battle, get the Discord mod on the floor, and Cartman deservingly delivers the last blow to finish him. And we see a beautiful scene of the entire Warcraft server coming out of the woods celebrating. Now after all of that, after 7 weeks of their life gone fighting literal boars, they can finally play the game, which is so sad. And that's it. This episode is honestly so cool. It's definitely one of my favorite South Park episodes, hands down. It was extremely original and funny, and just such a fun watch. The storyline as well is actually so interesting. The fact they made this game feel so serious and intense was so cool to me. It felt like an actual life or death scenario. Also, it's interesting because it honestly really shines a light on video game addiction. Even though this is South Park and is usually over the top and insane, it honestly really well explains games, how these games can quickly take over your life. This stuff is real, but the jokes in the episode, the pacing, the storyline, it was just perfect. And it really shows how talented the writers of South Park can really be. I really like this episode, and many people did as well. It's one of the most iconic episodes. I mean, even a popular streamer recently made the entire set of them playing WoW in the basement. Even though this episode was almost perfect, it's not the best episode. So, finally, the best episode of South Park is Scott Tenorman Must Die with a rating of 9.6. This episode starts with Cartman coming to the bus stop all happy about something, and turns out Cartman got his first pube, which at first seems like a decent accomplishment to brag about, but he actually bought pubes for $10 from a dude named Scott Tenorman. Cartman somehow thought pubes were collectibles like a Pokemon card, so while he's bragging and feeling all manly, Stan and Kyle explain to him that you don't actually buy pubes, you grow them, and he finally realizes he got scammed hard. So he storms off to Scott's house and confronts him, saying he wants to return the pubes, but Scott tells him there's no returns. And so Cartman thinks that he can ask his mom for help, but Scott tells him ain't no way he's gonna tell his mom that he bought pubes, which is fair, but also like we saw earlier, his mom has dealt with way worse situations. Anyways, he has to leave the house in defeat with $10 pubes. Now you may be wondering how the best episode ever of South Park is about literal pubes, but trust me, it will make sense. The back and forth between Scott and Cartman is so interesting and insane. So Cartman in a suit comes right back to Scott with Scott's pubes all over his face, acting like an IRS agent requesting $10 from him. Scott's obviously not dumb and knows that this is Cartman, but says he'll trade his pubes back for the money, then scams him so hard, I don't even know what happened. So he asks Cartman if he has change for a 20, and Cartman only has $6. So he does a bunch of yapping and like says have the 20, take the change, take pubes, blah blah. Pretty much Cartman loses his $6. And once he realizes what just happened, he gets extremely mad. Kyle tries telling him to just let it go and cut his losses, but this is Cartman, and ain't no way that is gonna happen. Also, because he lost the $6, he can't get into the movie, and so he tries paying with literal pubes, which obviously does not work. And honestly, I'm surprised this guy was not more freaked out. If a kid gave me pubes to get into a movie, I'd be so disgusted and shocked and confused, but this guy's just mad. But since Cartman can't get into the movie, he goes right back to Scott's house. Cartman tells Scott that Courtney Love is showing her chukubuku to people, and he has to go check it out. But Scott actually wants to buy the pubes back because of the pube fair in Fort Collin that pays $5 per hair. Now obviously he's lying. Ain't no pube fair, that does not exist, but Cartman of course falls for this and keeps the pubes for himself, thinking he's about to be rich. So he hops on a bus and heads 106 miles to Fort Collins all excited just to get there and see a regular old city and find out from this guy that the pube fair does not exist. Then Scott puts the cherry on top of this prank and has a guy come over and hand him a box with even more pubes. Honestly, kinda weird that Scott has a collection of his own pubes. Cartman then confronts Scott again and explains how he gives up, but he's lying because then he talks about how his grandma's going to die if he doesn't get $16, and Scott makes him beg like a little pig for the $16, but then he literally burns the $16, which was probably the biggest mistake Scott could have ever made. The back and forth that has happened so far had a purpose because Cartman had hope of getting the $16 back, but now it's going to be straight revenge, and we know how Cartman is, so get prepared for him to do something insane. So Cartman is already plotting his revenge and gets all of the kids from his school together and talks about how he wants to get a pony to literally eat Scott's hot dog to humiliate him. None of the kids really care about helping though, because well, it is Cartman's problem, so they all dip on him. But Cartman gets right to work, trying to train a pony with a fake scarecrow, and it's honestly not going that well. Then Jimbo comes by confused by what he is doing, but gives him actual really good advice. He tells him that he needs to find Scott's weakness and then exploit it, and he does exactly that and starts stalking him. He then learns that Scott loves a band Radiohead, so he goes the next day to Scott's house and tells Scott that Radiohead is doing a big interview on MTV and is playing in downtown. And Cartman literally set up a whole television and speaker setup downtown, as well as got a huge crowd, and Scott actually shows up. So Cartman broadcasts the MTV interview and pretty much just voice over the interview with his own voice.
I hate Scott Tenorman. We all hate Scott Tenorman.
And we see that Scott dipped, which makes us think that Cartman won and embarrassed him. But Scott claps back like always and set up his own television and plays a clip of Cartman singing his little piggy song, and everyone laughs at him. Also, Kenny literally laughs so hard he dies. Always gotta kill Kenny somehow. But this is the last straw. At first it was only private humiliation, but now he's gone too far. He burnt the money and now publicly embarrassed him. And now Cartman is fed up and wants the ultimate revenge. So he gets straight to work, staying up all night on a stormy night, coming up with the ultimate revenge plan on Scott. And I just want to take a second really quick and talk about the fact that all of this started from literally buying pubes. It's insane. Supposedly though, Cartman came up with the most genius plan and has a manic laugh. And you should be scared. You are not ready for this plan. So the next day, Cartman gets Kyle and Stan to meet up with him and offers them $2 to help him, which is kind of crazy that Cartman is so invested in revenge that he's just giving away money now, even though money was the whole reason reason this rivalry started. Anyway, the plan Cartman tells Stan and Kyle is that he is inviting Radiohead to South Park so they can watch Scott get his hot dog cut off by a pony. Kyle and Stan though do not want to help, so they dip, leaving just Cartman to do everything himself. Also, Cartman really did teach the pony to bite a hot dog. Pretty impressive and terrifying. We then see Radiohead, and Tom is reading the devious note from Cartman saying how Scott has cancer and pretty much guilt trips him to actually come down, which is wild that saying Scott had butt cancer worked. I know it's a real thing, but it's so rare. It's literally a 1% chance. I mean, maybe that's why they felt so bad, but it's just wild they fell for it. Anyways, Kyle, being an awful friend, snitches on Cartman, telling Scott Cartman's entire plan. And then directly after, Cartman rings a doorbell and he invites Scott to his chili carnival that has pony rides. And Scott agrees to come, of course, because he now knows his plan and can outsmart him. Then Scott, being the smart boy he is, guilt trips his loving parents into getting the pony, saying it's a poor starving pony and needs help. So now Cartman won't even have a pony to do the hot dog biting. Then we see Scott creating his pube chili for Cartman. And honestly, it seems Scott is sadly going to win once again. We cut to the chili carnival, which is also crazy that Cartman set up an entire carnival and got many people to come, all because of a pube rivalry. Crazy. Anyway, Scott gets there and wants to go straight to a taste test of the chili. So Scott eats Cartman's chili and then tells Cartman to eat his. And Cartman actually really enjoys it, which is hilarious, and means Cartman lost once again, eating a bowl of chili pubes. Or did he? Well, Scott is feeling all cocky and starts to tell Cartman what he put inside the chili, but Cartman cuts him off, saying he knew he put pubes in the chili and that he switched Scott's chili with chefs. Now I need you to buckle in, cause there's no way you could even fathom what Cartman's plan was. So Cartman planned that his friends would expose his pony secret to Scott, but they wouldn't tell him that Denkins the farmer shoots people on sight. So he literally somehow knew that Scott would tell his parents, and so when his parents went to get the pony, they got shot. And then get this, Cartman cut up Scott's parents and put them in Scott's chili. Yes, because of Scott selling Cartman some pubes, he had his parents shot, made him eat them, and then to top it off, Radiohead comes over while he's crying about his parents, which is literally understandable, and they think he's a little crybaby loser. Then Cartman, just being a psycho, starts licking his tears off his face. So this episode is surprisingly amazing. It's an episode that I feel no one would expect from the beginning to be this insane and good. I mean, it just started off with a funny gag that Cartman was dumb and bought pubes from Scott, but the back and forth between them is so entertaining and has you on the edge of your seat. It's funny, it's chaotic, and you can never expect what will happen next, especially in the end. That has to be one of the most insane plot twists I've ever seen, because truthfully, I thought Cartman was gonna lose again, but oh boy was I incredibly wrong. I really enjoyed this episode. It was such a roller coaster of emotions, and I loved every second of it. It's so impressive that the creators are probably just like, bro, how funny would it be if Cartman bought pubes? Then turned it into this masterpiece. Anyways, there's a video in the middle of the screen. I don't know what video it is. YouTube picks a video. That's what the algorithm wants you to watch. The algorithm wants you to watch that video.